Jesus Freak here, and I noticed my last video got more hits than most of my videos did, so I figured I'd jump in a little quick with this. And I know my video quality isn't the best. Since I'm on a fixed income, a lot of my stuff is secondhand, although I'm considering upgrading the webcam on my desktop. This is a somewhat old one. Most of the time I actually shoot a lot of my videos on convertible tablet. It's actually a netbook, but if you do this, it's a tablet. And my laptop has a webcam that has about the same capabilities as this computer. So, and then once in a while, if I have to run around a lot, I might shoot something with my cell phone. My tablet and my cell phone can do 720. Actually, my cell phone can do 1080, but I set it down to 720 because I don't use 1080 when I edit my videos, and I know, this video isn't edited at all, and most of mine aren't. Once in a while they are. But some of my videos I do edit, and I usually produce them at 720. Now, at one point I was using even worse equipment than this. My video where I go to Lewiston, New York, and talk about the bike accident that messed up my head, that was actually shot with an older cell phone that could only do 288p, and I kind of fudged it up. But this camera I'm using now can do 1024p for stills, but if I'm taking video, it only does 640 by 480. I'm planning to upgrade it in a month or two, but it's not a high priority. Anyway, in case anyone's just tuning in and not familiar with my earlier videos, they're kind of a grab bag. I've got a lot of, amateur theologian stuff. I'm kind of sort of what you call a PK, preacher's kid. So I kind of absorbed it by osmosis. Anyway, yes, I'm also big on retro computing and retro gaming. As you can probably see, that's a Galaga emulator playing in the background. I know I don't really have all that much expertise in producing videos, but I come from a kind of weird, kind of from the side. You see, I started out more as, I liked to program computers when I was younger, and I cut my teeth on an Apple IIc. So, I always was using Apple IIcs, Apple IIes more likely, and so those always meant something to me. I used to actually have, and I've shown it in one of my videos, the Apple IIe. Now, I don't have it now. It didn't survive the move, but it had seen better days. It did a few dinged up keys, and I wanted to replace it with something where I could have an actual Apple II, but if I needed to replace the keyboard, I could. So what I wound up with was a Macintosh LC with a 2E card, and that's what my last video was about. I got an NES, Super NES, although I can't find the video cable for that right now. Sega Master System, a Genesis. I got a Game Boy Pocket. Right here? Yeah, it is. Japan only model, actually. Yeah, it works. I have a Game Gear that is, I believe it's suffering from sick passer syndrome. It's pretty common in Game Gears, but no, it doesn't work. So I got a little bit of a retro gamer cred, I guess. Don't have a lot of games. Anyway, I got into a lot of this mainly because I used to be a hobbyist computer programmer, but I got sucked into a show called Sailor Moon back about 23 years ago now. From one of my classmates in high school. It was always going on Sailor Moon this, Sailor Moon that. And she was big on Sailor Moon until I started getting big on it. But I got big on Sailor Moon because I needed a new show because Ninja Turtles had just ended. Because Ninja Turtles ended around 1996. We're talking the classic Teenage Mutant, the one from 87. It went on for 10 years. Anyway, I got into anime. In 2003, I started getting online at home because until then I'd just go to the library. But I decided, they were having a spell when their internet was down for a long period, so I said, you know what, I'll just get my own internet. I just got an SSI, so I had some money to throw around. So I started paying for my own internet. And I wound up getting broadband because a TV show started coming out in Japan that I wanted to watch. It was actually, people were uploading this episodes of the show like within a day after it aired, which seemed kind of impressive to me. I hadn't thought that was possible. And for the record, this was a 2003 live-action Sailor Moon in Japan. Yes, there was a live-action Sailor Moon. Yes, it was corny. I've actually watched almost the whole thing. I think I got about 47 episodes in. I think it went like 50, 51. Anyway, I had been experimenting with subtitle software before this, and this was when I was really able to start getting into it. And I did, although I kind of sat on the sidelines for a while. I did subtitle the Sailor Moon musical that came out the next year with a couple Hungarian fansubbers. These subtitles are actually still circulating the internet. Probably the first thing I've done that's still really kind of out there. But from then on, after I had some fallings out because of fan sub politics, I kind of floated from project to project. It wasn't until about 2012 that I really had any semi-permanent project. This was because one of my friends was working on a project and he got me involved in it. But I started getting into this show, and I mean, people have been trying to get me into the show by this point since 2003. So, but at first I translated one of the songs for him. And then when our real translator friend that both of us relied on was kind of out of the picture, I did a little bit of translation for him. And then he was mainly working on like older episodes of the show. And then another group, Detective Conan Translation Project. They were the name in fan subs of Detective Conan at the time. And some of them burned out, and then others got a notice from the company that had the rights to the beginning of the series and sent them a notice because they were doing a web stream of the episodes, and they just decided, we're going to quit while we're ahead. And I had this stupid idea of trying to see if I could keep it going for a little while longer. And my friends decided to join me. And we actually were able to get somewhere. We actually kept going for a couple years. And even picked up a couple other projects. We worked on the second run of Dragon Ball Kai. We started by trying to fix up the 2014 Sailor Moon series until Crunchyroll started doing it themselves. They didn't need us fixing it up because they were able to improve on the subs they got, the translations they got from the studio. So I'd actually built a bit of a reputation as someone who was involved with subtitling the series, Detective Conan. And at this point especially, it was at the peak of its popularity. And I still work on it from time to time. You see, right when we started to burn out, and this was mainly because one of my friends who did a lot of the work on it Uh, he had a tumor on his lung and had to have half a lung taken out. And it really took the wind out of her sails. But we tried to keep going, we just couldn't. Fortunately, Crunchyroll stepped in and took over the show. But they didn't take over the earlier episodes. And so you have the beginning, which was subtitled by Funimation, which is up to episode 123. And they took over at 754. So you got this big gap. And while, some of the subtitles, especially the ones that we handled or Key and I handled, or some of the ones that DCTP handled later on when they got some better translators, these are actually pretty well done. But a lot of these older ones are just, the translations were out in left field and the quality was terrible. So I started to go in and see what I could do about that. I've actually got myself a bit of a reputation, a positive reputation for my work on this. And really I did a lot less work than it looks like. And this has kind of got me involved in other projects. Rather infamously, I released a couple things that weren't supposed to still exist. The broadcast audio from Dragon Ball Z fell into my friend's hand. He had me synchronize it up with the DVDs and the Blu-rays of the first 34 episodes. And I did it. And it went over like a lead balloon because I had killed someone's golden goose. I'm not a fan of the idea of for-profit piracy. And I had destroyed someone's money source that was making profits off bootleg material. So they got pretty ticked off. I actually was able to channel this into, I did a couple projects for Discotheque Media involving the Galaxy Express 3.9 movie dubs. That's a series you probably ought to watch, Galaxy Express 3.9. Anyway, most of the videos I've uploaded here have been the amateur theologian type thing with a little bit of kind of vlogging. I hate to use that word, but vlogging is probably the best way to put it. And a splash of, retro computing and retro gaming. I mean, I'm a lot of things. So it makes sense that that's what my videos cover. A lot of things. Anyway, I admit that my capability with producing these videos really isn't all that much. I'm a subtitler, I'm not a video producer. I'm just basically, I did a lot of video editing work on those subtitles, and some of that's gone into some of the videos I have on this channel. But I'm an amateur, and I'm working on equipment that really isn't meant for. Anyway, I just figured that because I had promoted a couple YouTube videos that were a little bit apart from my norm, that maybe I needed to upload a sort of this is just where I came in kind of thing. And, well, now you know. Jesus, freak out.